my coolest little champions, I welcome you all to day 60 of scoring 19% in 99 days. Today we are going to have a quick revision of the chapter Our Environment, because today is Saturday. Yes, Saturday is our revision, right? And on Sundays we do mock test. So be there for the mock test that is going to be put up tomorrow from the same chapter, that is Our Environment. But from Monday, something unique is going to happen. You are going to solve sample papers, my dear children. So we have a lot of things in plan, and I hope you're in it. We'll be seeing you on Monday, and let's begin our environment revision now. Now over here, first thing, what do you mean by ecosystem, my dear children? Ecosystem is a combination of what? Abiotic and biotic factors. What do you mean by abiotic? The non-living things. What is biotic? The living things. So abiotic and biotic factors are there. Now, are they dependent on each other? Are we dependent on air? Are we dependent on water? Everything? Yes, we are. So basically, ecosystem is a combination of abiotic factors as well as biotic factors and all the interrelationships among them. Okay, all the relationship among them makes the ecosystem as ecosystem. It's a community of living organisms, environmental factors, and all their interrelationship in a particular what? Unit of space. Now, going ahead, who was the person who gave this term that is ecosystem? Is what it was none other than Arthur Tansley. So Arthur Tansley was the guy who gave the term that is what? Ecosystem. Now going ahead, there are different types of ecosystem. One is natural and the other one is artificial. Natural as in we have not done anything, it is already there. For example, if you talk about a forest, we are not the people who made the forest. Okay, probably some plants might have come there and the plants reproduced among themselves, created a huge lot of area among them. Then the animals came and things like that happened. Artificial as in something that we are making from the for the first step itself. For example, in an aquarium. Aquarium is not something that is naturally made, it is something that we make. We put the plants, we put the animals in that, we put the water, we clean the water, we do everything. So that is an example of artificial ecosystem. Natural, you have aquatic and you have terrestrial. Aquatic as in water, okay, terrestrial as in land. Terrestrial, in that also you have different type of ecosystem. One is grassland ecosystem where the majority of things are grass. Then there is desert where plants are really less, okay, very few particular type of plants are there. You would be having more type of different animals. And then you have forest, okay. So these are terrestrial ecosystem. Now talking about aquatic, you have fresh water and marine. Fresh water means where the salinity is really less. Okay, the amount of salt in the water body is really less. When you talk about marine, the amount of salt will be really more. Okay, in fresh water also you can segregate them into different types. One is lentic, other one is lotic, other one is wetland. What do you mean by lentic? Lentic means the one that does not flow. For example, pond and lake, it does not flow. There is a limited amount of flow in them. Okay, they do not move around everywhere. So lentic as in the freshwater ecosystem which does not move, such as ponds and lakes. Lotic as in the one that flows. For example, your river and everything comes under that. Wetland is where there is land region and there is water also in that. There is land and there is also water in that, and this water will have less amount of salt, which is why it comes under freshwater ecosystem. Okay, in wetlands come your marshes, your swamps and stuffs like that. Now in aquatic, I said marine is also there where the salt content is really more, right? In that you have your open oceans and stuff like that. Other things, if you do not study, it's okay. Okay, it's not there anyways in your NCERT, but it's just for your understanding. So ecosystem, my dear children, are of two types, natural and artificial. In natural you have aquatic and you have terrestrial. In aquatic you have freshwater and marine. In terrestrial you have grassland, desert, forest, and there are a lot of other things as well. Cool, works, chalo. We are going to see a definition of natural ecosystem. So it occurs naturally in nature and requires no human activity for its functioning. Do we go there and take care of the pond and lake and things like that? The only thing that we should not be doing is destroying their thing. Okay, we should not be putting waste in that. At that point of time, it might need our support to sustain. We have to take that out, waste and everything out. Okay, so that is not the case. Natural ecosystem, it occurs naturally and requires no human activity in most of the cases. Now examples are ponds, rivers and everything else. Artificial ecosystem is something that is human made. Okay, it is not self-sustaining. They need us. And why do you think they are not self-sustaining? Probably we are the people who provide them food. Because over here, if I put fishes, I am not giving them other organisms on which they feed on. Instead, I am going to put what? The food. Instead, I am going to put the food directly. Okay, so there is no competition, there is nothing there. Okay, and over here also one more thing, I need to clean this. So there's a question that have come, that is, why do you think aquarium has to be cleansed whereas ponds and lake we do not have to clean? Because in ponds and lakes they have a particular type of organisms within them naturally occurring, and those are known as decomposers, my dear children. Whom do they have? They have decomposers. But over here decomposers means fungi and bacteria, they have it naturally. But in the case of this, they do not have it naturally. Okay, decomposers and things like that which could clean it. So hence we have to clean it. Hence, we have to clean these resources. Now, going ahead, what do we have? We have biotic components. I said there are biotic components and abiotic components that makes up an ecosystem. Okay, we saw the types of ecosystem. Now, it's who make up the ecosystem. Biotic components, in that all the living organisms. So, basically, starting off with this is a food chain that you see over here, and this is what we are going to. All these organisms that you see over here, they are going to be the biotic components of the ecosystem. So over here, the first biotic component that you see is grass. So I'll call grass as what? Producers, my dear children. They are known as what? Producers, because they are the organisms that can trap sunlight. And basically with the help of sunlight, they can actually do some magic. They are going to convert inorganic things into organic things. They are going to convert inorganic components, okay, that one that does not have CC bond, carbon-carbon bond or carbon-hydrogen bonds. Those are known as inorganic things. For example, you have carbon dioxide. You have carbon dioxide with 2 O's. Over here, you do not see CH bond or CC bond. You have H2O with 2 H and 1 O. Again, you do not see CC bond or COH bond. Over here, you just see this. So, these are inorganic things, and with the help of inorganic things, you are going to make what? Something that is organic. And this is done by only one group of organisms, and that are what? Producers, my dear children. So, plants that you see, they are known as producers. Now, an aquatic ecosystem, who are the producers? Do they have plants? Yes, they definitely have plants, but apart from plants, they also have one more thing. In aquatic ecosystem, there is one more guy who acts as producer, that is phytoplanktons. Please remember it. Phytoplanktons. So these were the first guy. Now listen, these are the producers. There will be organisms who would come and eat these producers, who are dependent on these producers, because obviously we cannot make organic content out of inorganic things. You and me cannot go stand in the sun and wait for organic things to be made. They have all the capability to do that. Now, we directly feed on these organisms for the organic compounds. So, hence, these group of animals that you see at the back, they all are known as what? Consumers. They all are known as consumers. So, in biotic components, we have producers who make the food, okay, and then we have consumers who basically depend on the producers for food. Okay, now producers, since they make their own food, I also call them autotrophs. Auto as in the one that make their own food. Whereas all these organisms that you see, the consumers, they are known as heterotrophs. Why? Because hetero as in others and trophos as in nutrition. So, we are dependent on others for what? Nutrition. In consumers also, you saw grasshopper. Basically, a frog does not eat the grass directly. It eats the grasshopper. So, grasshopper is the one that directly eats the eats the grass. So, I will call this as a primary consumer. This is the first guy to eat the producer. Now, this guy becomes a secondary consumer because this is going to eat this, not directly that. Now, this guy is going to eat this, so I will call it tertiary consumer. This guy is going to eat a snake. I will call it what? Quaternary consumer. Now, over here, if I remove the snake, and instead of that I put eagle. So what becomes the tertiary consumer? Tertiary as in the third stage consumer. It will be the eagle who becomes the tertiary consumer. Okay, so basically this is the flow, and these things that you see over here, this exact thing is known as what? A food chain, my dear children. This is a food chain, and over here there are certain levels. The producers always occupy trophic level 1. Producers, they always occupy trophic level 1, and the consumers, the primary consumers, they always occupy trophic level 2, secondary consumers always trophic level 3, tertiary consumer always trophic level 4, and quaternary consumer always trophic level 5. So, trophic levels are different levels in the food chain occupied by different sets of organisms. Now, apart from producers and consumers, there are also one more group of organisms. There is also one more group of organisms. What do you call them? Okay, so basically what we studied, producers are organisms that produce food for themselves and other organisms. They use solar or chemical energy. It can be plants, basically they use solar energy for preparation of the food, but there are certain bacteria which uses chemical energy also. And they are going to convert what? Simple inorganic molecules to what? Organic compounds. Producers, they are also known as autotrophs. We discussed about it. Going ahead, consumers or organisms that depend on other organisms for food, they are also known as heterotrophs, my dear children. Over here you have primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. Primary that feed directly on the producers, secondary who feed on the primary consumer, and tertiary who feed on the secondary consumer. Now, primary consumer, they always have to be an herbivore. Don't you think? Primary consumer, that means the one that feeds on the plants, they have to be an herbivore. They can be a carnivore. Do you think they can be a carnivore? No, they cannot be just a carnivore. They can be either a herbivore or an omnivore. Omnivore means which eats both plants as well as animals. Okay, so herbivores or omnivores. Now, these guys have to be an carnivore and omnivore, or similarly carnivore and omnivore, because they are not going to eat plant, instead they are going to eat animals which eat plants. Okay, Now going ahead, we have decomposers. I told you, producers, consumers, and there is decomposers. What do you mean by decomposers? Decomposers are going to feed on dead and decaying matter. Suppose the plant dies, suppose the animal dies, basically no other organism is going to come and eat it. Okay, it's decaying matter. Only some organisms will come and eat it. You call them detritivores. Now, decomposers are naturally there in the soil. And what do you call these decomposers? Examples are fungi and bacteria. FB, Facebook, you remember like that. And what are they going to do? Basically, we eat plants, so we have the organic material. Okay, we have the organic material. Now, when we are dead, basically this organic material which is there in our body has to be broken down back again to what? Again to inorganic things, such that the plants which are there, they can utilize this and again make what? Organic compound. So this function, this thing is being done by decomposers, my dear children. And decomposers, remember, they are microorganisms. What are those microorganisms? Facebook, that is fungi and bacteria. Okay, so microorganisms that break down the complex organic compounds into in the dead plants and animals and their products such as fecus and urine, fecus as an excreta, okay, into what? Simpler inorganic substances. So as a reason question comes where they are saying decomposers are the one that breaks down simple organic compounds into complex inorganic substances. It is wrong. Organic is always complex and inorganic is always simple. So please remember, it goes like this. Cool. So decomposers is that. Now, as I said, detritivores are organisms that feed. So decomposers are fungi and bacteria, microorganisms. But there is earthworm and things like that which feed on dead and decaying things. Which feeds on dead and decaying things. Okay. So they are known as detritivores. They are known as detritivores. So what do? Basically, they take in the food inside their body, they break it down, and whatever excreta they are releasing, okay, they ingested something complex. They are going to excrete something simple. And these simple things can be used. Now, in the case of decomposers, how they are different from detritivores? Decomposers, as I said, they are microorganisms. So basically over here, for example, fungus, mushroom is there. This releases certain enzymes, my dear children. These releases certain enzymes out. Okay, and this enzyme are going to break the dead organism. And whatever important components are there, it is being reabsorbed. Whatever important nutrients are there, it is being reabsorbed. So that is the difference between detritivores and what? Decomposers. Works? Cool? Chalo. Next. Now, I already told about food chain. What is food chain, children? It's a linear sequence of organisms through which the nutrients and the energy is basically passing from one organism to another. Always remember, it's a linear sequence. There is no additional way. There is only one way. It is always unidirectional. Whereas when you talk about food web, okay, food web, things are kind of different. Food web is, for example, this particular mouse is eaten by a wild cat, it can be eaten by an owl, it can be eaten by some other organism such as snake. So here, you see this is a food chain, this is a food chain, this is a food chain. But interlinking food chains are there together, you call this as what? A food web now. Okay, so that is the difference between food chain and food web. Again, if you are asked difference, this is the things that you can write. These are the things that you can write, not is. So, food chain helps in understanding the food relationship and interaction among the various organisms, obviously. Okay, there is a decline in the amount of energy available. These are the features of food chain. I am saying there is a decline in energy available as we move from one trophic level to another. For example, the plants, I say, has 2000 kilojoules of energy. The animal that is going to feed on it will be having lesser energy than this, because not every unit of energy that you see over here is passed to the next organism. So when you go up to the trophic level, I will give you the explanation for this, okay, but just understand as of now, in the features of the food chain, you have to write whenever we go above the trophic level, the amount of energy is getting less. Always remember, it is always straight, shows no alternate pathways. So food chain is always straight, there is no alternate pathways. Food chain has unidirectional flow of energy, as in the energy is going to move from here to here. Why? Because every time it is going to get less. So you cannot give it back. You cannot anyways give it back. Okay, so it is always unidirectional flow of energy. Whereas when you talk about food web, what is the case? Food web is basically found by interlinking food chains. You know that it is never straight. Food chain was straight, but this cannot be straight. This is interlinking, so there can be alternative pathways. Now, alternative availabilities in the food web make the ecosystem more stable. For example, if the mouse here, okay, just a second. If the mouse here was eaten by only the owl, okay, and suppose, okay, but not so good vendors. Okay, anyways, so I was talking about what? Mouse and the owl. So suppose the owl is eating the mouse, nothing else. Owl will just eat the mouse and nothing else. What if the mouse, it goes down? Okay, the level of mouse which is there, okay, the amount of it, number of it gets decreased. What will the owl feed on now? It's a problem. Basically, the owl can feed on something else as well. That is the meaning of food web. So it is an interlinking thing. If the owl basically is okay to eat something else, it can sustain. Otherwise, if we just say that I'll eat mouse and that's only how I sustain, then probably if mouse is not there, it will also die. So basically food web makes it more, the ecosystem more stable, my dear children. Okay. Now over here I already told you that in the case of aquatic organisms, apart from plants, what you can write as the first trophic level, in the first trophic level it will be phytoplanktons. What is it, children? They are, where is the pen? Yes. So they are the phytoplanktons. Now phytoplanktons in the aquatic let's say ecosystem is eaten by zooplanktons. Now the zooplanktons are eaten by what? The small fishes. And the small fishes are being eaten up by the large fishes. So this is the food chain in the case of aquatic ecosystem. So phytoplankton is there, phytoplankton, zooplankton, and small fishes, then large fishes. Okay. Now going ahead with the next thing. What about the 10% law? So I told that energy always decreases. Why did I say so? Because my dear children, there is a rule that you have to follow, that is 10% law rule. Basically over here, what it says is that only 10% of the energy which is there is being passed on to the next organism. The rest of the energy which is there, for example, I am a plant and there is a grasshopper who is going to eat me. Now I am a plant, I have my own needs. There are so many metabolic activities that I need to do. So I'll be utilizing some energy for myself. And while I am giving my energy, while you guys are, grasshopper is coming and eating me, it is taking some amount of energy from me. Okay, it's just 10%, because while I am giving, there are some losses also. When this energy transfer is going on, there is some loss in the form of heat and stuff like that. So I'll say 90% of energy is lost. You cannot take it from me. Something I will be utilizing, something is being lost. Only 10% is that thing that I would be probably giving to you. This is 10% law. So from one trophic level to the next trophic level, you are just going to pass 10% of the energy. Rest is going to be utilized by the organism or will be lost while the transfer is taking place. So over here, suppose 10,000 kilojoules of energy is there. Okay, 10,000 kilojoules of energy is there in the plant body. In the plant, the primary producers. Now, the animal that is going to eat the plant, that is for example a grasshopper, how much amount of energy will it receive, children? Only 1,000. How did it receive 1,000? So, 10% of 10,000 is what? 10% of 10,000 is what? 0, 0 cut, 0, 0 cut, you get 1,000. So, 1,000 kilojoules over here. Kilojoules, you just add kilojoules, okay? And now, if you are asked, what is the energy available in the secondary consumer level? Secondary consumer level, so you should be knowing secondary consumer level occupies T3, that is trophic level 3. So you have to go one more step ahead. So 10% of 1,000 is what? 10% of 1,000 is what, my dear children? Again, it will be 100. You don't need to calculate, but still I am just calculating to show you. So it's 100 joules. Now the second one. So they can ask you a question like this. They will be giving you the energy that is there in the tertiary consumer level. Okay, they will be giving the energy in tertiary consumer level and they will ask you what is the energy available in the producer level. First thing you should be knowing tertiary consumer level, which trophic level does it acquire. Basically it is T4. Tertiary consumer means it is acquiring T4 level, trophic level 4. Now from here if you do into 10 into 10 into 10 into 10 100 into 10,000 into 10 10,000, you get the energy available over here. Now one very important thing, if you saw it clearly, if we saw this image very clearly, okay, so I am, just a second, over here I see plant is there, it is transferring 10%, 10%, 10%, but how much amount of energy is the plant receiving? So there is solar energy, you know there is solar energy and it is going to receive solar energy. So suppose here it is almost, I say 10 lakh joules of solar energy. So will it receive 10% of this? No, children. In the case of plants, they are going, the first producers, they are going to receive 1% of the solar energy. How much, children? This is a very important question. Okay, to the producers, the sun is giving only 1% of the total solar energy. So 1% of this 10,000 is what? 1% of 10,000 is what? 10,000. Sorry, not 10,000. 10 lakh is what? Let's do. If you are someone who is confused. 1 into 100, 0, 0 cancel. How much do you get? So there is some calculation mistake over here. 1 0 I have to cut, okay? So 1 0 I have to cut, 1 0 I have to cut, 1 0 I have to cut. Now 0 0 cut. What do I get? I was correct only. Sorry, Shaktiman. Okay, let's make it again. 0 0 0, okay? And then 100 100. If you cut this, how much do you get? This is 10,000, my dear children. This is what? 10,000. That is what you get over here. Okay, so 1% of the solar energy is captured by what? The producers. Always remember that. Rest of the things, that is 10%, 10%, 10%. Okay, here you do not follow 10% rule. Here it's just 1% of the total solar energy. From here onwards, from the producer level onwards, you follow the 10% rule. Remember? Done? Clear? Chalo. Next thing. Sun bro, just give me at least 1 to 5% of the total solar energy. That is what it is saying. Okay. Now, there is something that is known as bioaccumulation. Okay, so whenever we talk about trophic levels, food chain and things like that, you also need to understand that basically, for example, I am a plant and some person has put pesticides on me, has put some toxic chemicals on me so that the pests do not eat me. Now what happens? Basically I have 2 milligrams. Similarly, my friend plant, my another friend which is also a plant, it also have received this particular pesticide. Now again 2 mg is being put over here also. Now a grasshopper comes. A grasshopper comes, eats this plant and this plant. How much amount of pesticide is there now? 2 plus 2, 4 mg of pesticide is being given to the grasshopper. Why 4 mg? Because this pesticide is being accumulated in the plant. This pesticide which is there, it is being accumulated. Plant, this toxic chemical, no, it cannot be broken down. This toxic chemical which is there, it cannot be broken down, which is why it is getting, not everything gets accumulated. Only the things that cannot be broken down gets accumulated. And here it is getting accumulated, my dear children, which is why it is getting passed exactly like this to the grasshopper. Now suppose there is one more grasshopper which has 5 mg of this pesticide being accumulated. So now the frog which is there, which is going to eat both of this grasshoppers, how much amount of pesticide will it have? 4 plus 5, 9 mg of pesticide. Again, why is it happening? Because this is getting accumulated. What do they call this process as? Where accumulation of things is happening. This is known as bioaccumulation. So it is a process of accumulation of chemicals in an organism that takes place if the rate of intake as in rate of taking it inside exceeds the rate of excretion. It is not moving out. The rate of excretion is really less. It is not moving out, but the rate of intake is more. This is known. This will lead to what? Bioaccumulation. And when I say bioaccumulation happens, when things are getting accumulated, there is one more thing that is going to happen, and that is known as biomagnification. What do you mean by biomagnification? That means if this trophic level has 4 mg, this trophic level of producers have 4 mg. Basically, if you see trophic level 2, it has now what? 4 plus 5. How much mg? 9 mg. Okay, trophic level 3 will be having double of it. So basically, my dear children, if you see organisms at the higher trophic level, in them the amount of chemicals is being increased because it is being accumulated. So biomagnification means when you go above the trophic levels, there is an increase in the concentration of the toxic chemicals because it is getting accumulated. This is known as biomagnification. Okay, it is caused because of accumulation. It is caused because of accumulation. So over here you see the contaminant level is less. Over here this guy eats this, so you have little amount of contamination. This guy eats both of them, so obviously it will have more. This guy eats this, so it will be having more. Similar to some organisms, again something like this, again it will be having more. So you see, when you go above the trophic levels, the concentration of the toxin is basically increasing. This is known as biomagnification. It is the increase in the concentration of a toxin at successive trophic levels. The toxin gets accumulated because a toxic substance cannot be metabolized or excreted. Metabolized as in broken down or excreted, which is why it is passed to the next trophic level. Please understand these two important terms, very important terms. Now when you talk about, these were the biotic factors. Okay, that is the consumers, producers, decomposers and everything associated with it. Now abiotic factors is what? Basically the inorganic substances which is there in our environment. Nitrogen, whatever is there. Okay, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, water, everything is inorganic. Organic compounds means what? Glucose, lactose, whatever sugar, whatever amino acid, whatever things that you see, they are organic matters. Now climatic factors in the soil quality or basically the air quality, everything is a climatic factor. Edaphic as in the soil quality. Okay, edaphic as in the soil quality, the soil, everything related to soil. So those are the abiotic components. Together this biotic and abiotic components work together to form the ecosystem. Now going ahead with something very much important, you have to talk about waste management as well. What do you mean by waste management? What type of waste do we have? We have two different type of waste. One is biodegradable and the other one is non-biodegradable. Biodegradable as in with the help of natural ecosystem, it is going to break down naturally because there are certain microorganisms which can act on it. So biodegradable waste are such waste which can be broken down with the help of what? With the help of microorganisms which are naturally present. Non-biodegradable as in it cannot be broken down with the help of natural organisms or basically the natural ecosystem. You need to treat it with chemicals or basically heat. You need to treat it with chemicals or basically heat. So that is the difference between biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. So is biodegradable waste a problem and wait, just before that, how do you manage it? First thing, non-biodegradable waste, you have landfills for it, where you dig out an area and basically put all the things. But now we do not have area for basically digging and putting things in. Okay, so landfills are filling up very fast. So what you can do? Instead, you can do recycling of certain waste. That is a good way to deal with non-biodegradable things. For biodegradable things, you can use it for compost, okay, for formation of compost. Now this compost can give you biogas. It can basically help you with the formation of fertilizers, manures and things like that. Now suppose non-biodegradable things are not being treated properly, what you can do is incineration, where you have to probably use heat to basically decompose it, not decompose it, degrade it, but it's not really good. Now, do you think there are disadvantages in biodegradable? Biodegradable is something that can be broken down, right? But still it has disadvantage. One is what? Foul smell. When everything is getting accumulated, it gives very bad smell. Again, second thing, when things are getting accumulated, it will give rise to what? Pests. So there will be houseflies, things that coming around, sitting on that, and then coming and sitting on our food, and that's how we get diseases. So pests and diseases will increase. Now, and second thing, obviously if waste is accumulated somewhere, it will, whatever content is there, it will slowly leach into the soil. From the soil, it will get into the water. So there is groundwater contamination as well being caused because of biodegradable waste. Now talking about non-biodegradable waste, first thing, they are going to take a lot of space for utilization. They are not going to get degraded very easily, right? So obviously they will utilize a lot of space. Second thing, there will be so many animals which will be harmed because of this. You have seen cows which eats the things that are there in the plastic. So along with the food is there, they eat the plastic also. So that is a really bad problem. Environmental pollution, that is also a problem. Now it takes long decomposition time, which obviously is a major problem. Then you have health risks. Again, groundwater contamination is being caused because of this also. Why? Because suppose you are digging some place and you are putting plastic and everything, you have sun, the light falls on it, the plastic, there are chemical changes happening, certain things leaches out into the soil, from the soil it gets into the water. Don't you think it's a problem? It's a problem. So all these are the disadvantages of non-biodegradable waste. Okay, so how do you manage it? I told you how do you manage it. Basically, you can recycle it, you can reuse things, okay? That is the best way to manage it. Now, there is something that is ozone given in your book. What do you mean by ozone? So, ozone is O3. Ozone means what? O3. There are 3 molecules of oxygen atoms. Sorry. It's a combination of 3 oxygen atoms, okay? There's a combination of 3 oxygen atoms which you call as ozone. Now, ozone is really important in stratosphere. So, we have different layers. Suppose this is the earth. The earth is surrounded by troposphere. First layer is what? Troposphere. And then the next layer is what? Stratosphere. So, in the stratosphere, you have a strip of ozone, my dear children. You have a strip of ozone, and what does this ozone do, my dear children? So suppose sun is here. Sun has different type of radiations depending on the wavelength that they have, and there is one type of radiation which is known as UV radiation, When the UV radiation, it falls over here, the ozone layer blocks it. The ozone layer blocks it such that it cannot reach the earth. Now it is good or bad? It is really good, because this UV radiation, if it falls on us directly, what will happen basically? We might have skin cancer, we might have cataract, we might have immune deficiency problems. So we do not want all this thing, which is why ozone is really good in the stratosphere level. Now there is a question that is being asked, is ozone good in the ground level? In the ground level which is there, is it good or bad? It is bad. Ozone is going to play a bad cop's role in the ground level. Why? Because ozone being there in the ground level, we are going to take it in and it might cause respiratory issues. Now ozone is something that is going to react with a lot of other things, and then when we inhale all those things, it is going to cause a huge lot of trouble in our body. So ozone in a ground level is a bad thing. Okay, ozone in the stratosphere layer is a very good thing. Now how is ozone being formed? Let's see that. So ozone, meet the oxygen atom. There is one oxygen atom, okay? Now, there is another oxygen molecule as an O2. Now, what happens is that when they meet each other, O and O2, basically when they meet each other, what do you get, children? O3. You get O3. But where did you get O from? Where did you get O from? Basically, the oxygen molecules which are there, it is broken by the UV light. So UV light is basically helping in the formation of ozone itself, and this ozone is going to not allow the entry of UV light itself. So basically UV light is a bad guy, but he knows it's a bad guy, so he is trying to improve, do something for the nature. Okay, he or she, whatever, please do not take it like that. Okay, I'm generally saying it as a story format. So over here you have the O2, it gets broken down to oxygen. It gets broken down to oxygen, and what will happen? This oxygen is going to combine, this oxygen atom is going to combine with another oxygen molecule, making what? O3. So UV light is going to help in the formation of what? O3, and this O3 is going to protect us from UV light as well to form ozone. Now ozone is highly reactive gas composed of 3 oxygen atoms, I already told you. Now where is ozone layer present? In the stratosphere. In the stratosphere it is present, my dear children. Now over here, how is the ozone layer made? I already told you. There is oxygen molecule, here it acts on it, breaks them down into O and O, and this O and O basically comes and patches up with another oxygen molecules, bringing out O3 and O3. This is how it is formed. So the UV radiation split the oxygen molecule into free oxygen or oxygen atom. This oxygen atom combines with molecular form of oxygen to form what? Ozone. Okay, now you have that. Now going ahead, what do we have? Can anything destroy the ozone layer? Do you think that anything in this world can destroy the ozone layer? The answer is yes. What is the answer, children? Chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. What do we have? Chlorofluorocarbons. It has chlorine, it has fluorine, and it has carbon. Now chlorofluorocarbons, how do they react? I'll tell you. So this is a chlorofluorocarbons where 3 chlorine is there, 1 fluorine is there, and carbon is there. The chlorine which is there, chlorine atom goes and reacts with O3. Goes and reacts with O3, that is ozone, and makes it undergo a breakup. There is a breakup happening. So it will be breaking up into oxygen and O. It will be breaking up into oxygen and O. This O gets combined with the Cl. This O gets combined with the Cl, and what do you have? Chlorine monoxide. What do you form? Chlorine monoxide. Again, this chlorine monoxide can go and react with another oxygen atom. Okay, another oxygen atom and form oxygen molecule. So this is the thing that usually happens. So basically, if you see, if you're not understanding this part, it's okay. At least understand this part where the chlorine is going to break the ozone molecule into what? Oxygen and oxygen atom. Okay, this is going to react with the oxygen atom, giving rise to what? Chlorine monoxide. And again, oxygen molecule is being released like that. Cool. So that is the thing. So this reaction happens every time. And one very important thing, where is the chlorofluorocarbons released from? From the refrigerators, from the AC machine, from fire extinguishers and things like that. So it was being released way too much, such that there was an ozone hole seen where? Seen in Antarctica. Seen in Antarctica. In the polar region, there was an ozone hole being seen. At that point of time, in 1980s it happened. In 1980s it happened, and seeing this happen, immediately a step was taken in 1987. Please remember the year. In 1987, what happened? The United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. Okay, UNEP. Always remember ulta of pen. Ulta of pen, UNEP, you can remember like that. Okay, so in 1987, United Nations Environment Program came in, and they said that we have to stop the production of CFC. We have to stop the production of CFC. So from that point onwards, it was made sure that the entire world, nowhere there will be CFC production. So CFC free refrigerators were produced throughout the world from then. And now this has been healed. This wound has been healed. That's the good news. So 1987, this happened. Okay, 1987, please remember that. Now, what if there is no ozone? What if there is no ozone? UV rays will come in, and UV rays, if it comes in, what will happen, my dear children? Skin cancer, damage to the eyes, damage to the immune system, increased embryonic mortality. What do you mean by embryonic mortality? When the sperm and the egg comes, what do you get? Zygote. The zygote basically transforms into an embryo. Embryo is basically transformed into fetus. Now, if UV radiation, everything is falling on, basically there are chances that the embryo could die. So that is embryonic mortality. In plants also, there will be increased death rate of seedlings. So seedlings which will give rise to new plants, they will also die. There will be problems in photosynthesis happening. A lot of problems will be caused because if ozone is not being there. Cool. Now, how to control the release of CFCs? By air conditioning and refrigeration equipments that do not use CFCs. Okay. Now, by aerosol products that do not use CFCs as propellants. Usually it is being used. Okay. Conduct regular inspection and maintenance of air conditioning and refrigerator appliances to prevent and minimize refrigerant leakage. Okay. So that are a few things that you can do to control what? CFC level. And with this, as promised, okay, I'm 4 minutes delayed, but still we have completed the whole chapter within almost 34 minutes. So that's all, my dearest little champions. And if you're someone who is not aware about what you should be doing after 10th grade, we have Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test, where there will be a 60-minute consult-based lecture followed by an aptitude test on the basis of the lecture. And then there will be a one-on-one counseling. In the counseling, they will be telling you what is the best stream for you. So you have the opportunity. So please make use of the opportunity. The link is given in the description box. Click on that. So that's all, my cutest little champions. Now, if you think that this particular video was helpful, if you think that basically we revised together, okay, properly, okay, so do not forget to subscribe to our channel and also put down, show your love to us in the comments and things like that. And please solve previous year questions. Tomorrow you would be having mock test. Take it seriously and do it. You will get the mock test paper in the morning itself. Download it, try to solve it, and then you will see the improvement. You will be really, really happy seeing how good you are scoring. So that's all, my champions. Wishing you all the best. Take care. Lots and lots of love. Bye-bye.